Hi, it's Gene, retired in Mexico, and I'm here with special guest Professor Gumbo, aka Jem, my longtime friend, and I'm glad to have him on the channel. And I didn't say this in the albums ranking videos, but I feel like I know a decent amount about Dylan, but I feel like this is the real Dylan file over here. So I am really looking forward to his list. Today we're doing song lists, but before we start, hit that like or subscribe button. You know, I keep saying this, and you can do it right now. You can do it right now. Yeah, I know you're probably on your phone. It's probably a hassle, but when you don't hit that like button, we're dying on the vine here. So we put hours into this video. We appreciate, we love you. So if you can like us, that would be great. So we're going to go through Bob Dylan's songs, and we're actually going to be doing two different videos. We're going to record them at the same time, maybe do them as one episode, maybe do them as two episodes. But today we're doing Dylan's top songs, okay? And then we're going to do covers. That's going to be the part three series here is we're going to do our favorite cover songs because Dylan's probably been covered more than anyone except probably the Beatles. And yeah, and maybe a couple standard songs like My One and Only Love or something like that. Dylan is one of the most heavily covered artists. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We're going to start with our top 30 Dylan songs ranked from 30 to 1. We're going to take turns, do five at a time, and just tell you what our favorite songs are. And last time Jim went first. But first of all, how you doing, Jim?
I'm doing okay, thanks. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we've spent hours, haven't we? Or a lifetime,
Just
really.
before we get going, let me just tell you, I just quickly looked it up on Google. Bob Dylan's songs have been covered more times than songs by the Beatles.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, well, there you go. So I think of all the artists that we're going to cover in this series, we got to talk about cover songs. But I'm going to go ahead and start my list. And so before I do, I want to tell you, for you viewers watching, that if you judge my list on omissions, you are definitely going to tear me apart. I got some major songs missing from here. The other thing is when we worked on our favorite cover songs, I was really surprised to see how different the two lists are. I have very little crossover between my favorite cover versions of Dylan and my favorite Dylan songs. So it's obvious that what I'm really judging here are performances. So that's the first thing I wanted to say is sometimes I like the way Dylan does it. Sometimes I like the way another artist interprets a song. So it isn't really favorite songs, even though we're going to call it that. It's kind of favorite performances, right? Favorite songs slash performances. It's the combination of the two. And the second thing I wanted to say is that this list would change over time because I've got so many major omissions on here. I think what I'm really doing here is just giving you the current 30 songs that I want to listen to, that I want to listen to at this time. And we will do a playlist. When we're done, we'll take Jem's list and my list and we'll combine them and we'll give you the link below. So we're also going to talk about the versions of these songs that we want to do. And so here I am at number 30. Uh, you ready, Jim?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number 30, this is the only one that I have to do a substitution on Spotify for the playlist. It's the song In the Garden, which was originally from Saved. My favorite version of that song, I will show you. Actually, I have the CD here. Um, I have a bootleg, Bob Dylan and Tom Petty, True Confessions. So this is their Australian tour, and it was an official release because on VHS they released a video called Hard to Handle. Uh, and if you watch In the Garden from the Hard to Handle, tour, that's my favorite version of In the Garden. You know, a wonderfully one of the better spiritual songs from his Christian period. But the Heartbreakers give it a real urgency. But for the Spotify playlists that we're going to put up here, I will do a version from the Trouble No More. I think that was volume 13 in the bootleg series. It's a performance from the 80s, and it's also very good, but it's got a lot of organ. It's a little churchy if you have a chance to watch the Tom Petty version. Number 29 from the first album, from the debut. I just can't help but sing this song whenever I hear it. It's Baby, Let Me Follow You Down. And objectively, objectively, you might consider it a slight song, but I just really enjoy listening to it. I've made a playlist, I've played it many times, and I just love listening to that song. Number 28 from the Desire album, One More Cup of Coffee. Finger cymbals, violin, very gypsy-like. One More Cup of Coffee to the Valley Below. Love that song. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything more to say about it. 27. This is a surprise. This is a big surprise, I think, for all of you. I have got one of Bob Dylan's longest songs on here, Highlands from Time Out of Mind. People love or hate this song, but I love it. You know, it starts with him being in a rut, talking about how every day is the same old. And then the next thing you know, he's talking about listening to Neil Young, wanting hard-boiled eggs, and reading Erica Jong. And then at the end of the song, it comes back to him being in a rut again. And I think it's like a more sophisticated version of his old dream songs, right? He had Bob Dylan's Dream Number This, Dream Number That. And Dylan has a history of doing songs about dreams and surrealism. But boy, Highlands, which it has this hypnotic kind of, I don't know if it's just two chords or two notes or what, but it's this repetitious thing that he just does this incredible story over about drawing a picture of the waitress. And every time I listen to Highlands, I just laugh. I think it's one of his funniest songs and one of his best dream songs. And then at number 26, classic doom folk, Hard Rains Are Gonna Fall from Free Will and Bob Dylan. Hasn't lost any of its punch. All right, your turn, Jim.
Okay, I should preface my list by very much the same as Gene's. These are subjective favorites. Some of the big hitters are in here, but many of them are not. Like Blowing in the Wind is not in there, okay? Because I'm not choosing what I think are the 30 best Dylan songs, 30 most important Dylan songs, but my 30 favorite Dylan songs. And there are some, there are some big songs in there, but there are also some deep tracks in there.
Right.
And so my number 30 is Dylan's Forever Young, the longer one from the Planet Waves album. Okay. He did also a little closing that was kind of fast. And then on Biograph, you get um an acoustic one, but I just really like the version that he did with the band on Planet Waves. And it I'm really I didn't put the songs in this order for this reason, but if you listen to them from number 1 through number 30, this really ends it well.
Hmm.
Okay. Next, keeping with the band, You Ain't Going Nowhere. And that I had to think about, like, do I want the Basement Tapes version or the version from Greatest Hits Volume 2? But they're very similar, the arrangements, but I really like the version with the band. So You Ain't Going Nowhere from the Basement Tapes. Um, uh, uh, he mentions Jim McGuinn in there too, which is funny. Yeah, Roger McGuinn. Okay, now the next one was a huge hit for those of us who were around in 1970, and then it kind of just disappeared into oblivion. And it's George Jackson, which was sort of the like an early run through in a way for Hurricane.
Hmm.
It's a protest song Dylan is singing about, except in this case, George Jackson was killed during a prison break. But it's one of Dylan's most most powerful songs about the society's killing of a black man. And he did two versions of it. He did an acoustic version, and then he did what's called a big band version.
Hmm.
And the big band version isn't like a Lawrence Welk big band. The big band it just has a full band playing on it, and that's the one that I chose. But Lord, Lord, they cut George Jackson down. Lord, Lord, they laid him in the ground. And I have this as a non LP single on an Australian compilation, kind of the Australian equivalent of Biograph, called Masterpieces. Um,
And I think you
then
can put that on sidetracks. I think those songs are on sidetracks.
I believe, yes, you're right, it is. So it's easier to find now than it was for a while. Um, my number 27 is a song that I don't know if because I fell in love with this song hearing David Bowie singing it or not, but I love Dylan's version also. It's from Time Out of Mind, and it's when Dylan was dealing with mortality issues. And this is trying to get to heaven,
Mm.
trying to get to heaven before they close the door. But despite the fact that it's a serious song, it's got Dylan's wry, ironic humor, and it says, um, I've been to Sugar Town, I shook the sugar down, and which I'm guessing is probably a drug reference, but still trying to get to heaven before they close the door. And then, just like Gene had in his the first five, I also have Murder Most Foul from,
Mm.
which is a song that I went nuts when I first heard this song, because it was like, okay, this is Dylan doing a lengthy, never-ending. Dylan's been on his never-ending tour for a long time. This is his never-ending song, um, and it's the center of it is the assassination of John Kennedy, but there's so much more to it as well. The Beatles are mentioned, and so much pop culture. Basically, it's Dylan outdoing uh, Don McLean's American
American
Pie,
Pie.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked. Is it longer than Highlands or not?
I
I
think it
think it
is.
might. I think it might be. It's basically like Dylan's War and Peace, but it's a great song. It came out as a single first, and then was released as an extra disc on the follow-up album Rough and Rowdy Ways.
Right. I think
So,
Highlands is like 11 minutes and something,
oh
and
yeah,
Most
this one
Foul
is
is
definitely
15,
longer.
15.
Yeah,
It's like 4 minutes
right.
long. Well,
Okay,
that's,
so
yeah. Oh, go
those are
ahead.
my first five.
Well, I think already we're off to a great start because I'm sure on my list, Highlands was a surprise.
Yeah, it was, but a pleasant surprise.
And likewise with George Jackson, which surprised me. So I knew you liked that song, but I didn't think it would make your list. So yeah, already in our first five, we're off to a good start. Jim and I have known each other for a long time, but we've not talked Dylan in years. So, and our tastes have changed over the years. So, okay, I'll give,
Jog my memory, Gene.
yeah.
Um, when uh, at at the early part of my senior year in high school and your junior year, I used to come
Mhm.
over to my house and we would listen to a lot of music. Did I play you songs from Blood on the Tracks at that time? It had just come out.
Probably. Almost certainly. It's funny what I remember and what I don't. For example, I will never, ever forget when you put Rostam on Vibration on the turntable. And I had not heard Bob Marley. And I didn't know what the hell I was listening to. But the Dylan, I also remember us listening to King Crimson during a lightning storm. That was
Yeah,
awesome. Uh, but Blood on the Tracks, if you didn't play it at your house, you played it in the classroom.
that's right. Gene and I were that year, we were in journalism together, and the journalism teacher, she allowed us to play music in there. And so we would bring albums and play them while we were working.
Right. We would just check out a record player from the library and not return it, basically. Right? We'd just keep it. We'd
Right.
say we're going to take it for the week or the month.
Sue Ritter, she's a Facebook friend of mine. She nominated both of us for Quill and Scroll, the Journalism National Honor Society.
Did Man, your memory is better than mine. Yeah.
Well, she and I, we bonded pretty much when I went back as a teacher. As I even gave the farewell speech because I'd known her both when she was my teacher and my colleague. So
Oh, those, we did a lot of woodshedding in that class and a lot of work, by the way. We didn't just listen to music. Okay, I'm going to do my next five now, 25 through 21, and going to start off with a pair of songs from Highway 61 Revisited. Um, they probably deserve to be higher on the list because I love these songs. First one is Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues. Funny, great imagery. And in my notes here, I just remembered this yesterday. I used to say this all the time. I'd forgotten all about it. Is this the template for future down and out in Mexico songs like Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville or Warren Zevon's Carmelita? I always felt like Dylan kind of got that down and out in Mexico thing first that inspired a number of other people. But this song is funny as hell, and yet there's some kind of thread through it that isn't funny because it's about so much dysfunction. Uh, I mean, it's about the girls of the night and drinking Burgundy and the harder stuff and all this. So yeah, but I love Tom's just like Tom Thumb's Blues, which I still don't know why it has that title, but so be it. Number 24, the title track from Highway 61 Revisited. Starts with that police siren. And it's kind of an important song because everyone was one of the big revelations. Here's a pun, Jim. One of the big revelations is that Dylan was always drawing from the Bible. We shouldn't have been quite as surprised by the Christian period as we were. Sure, we were surprised by the conversion and the fundamentalism, but even Sarah, apparently, when she never does interviews, but somebody had quoted her as saying during the Woodstock years, there was one book open in the middle of the room, and it was the Bible. So when after the motorcycle accident, he had a Bible out in the middle of the room. So this biblical imagery about God said to Abraham, "Give me a son." Abe said to God, "You must be putting me on." So we got the humor and the Bible all together. Love it. Number 23 from Blonde on Blonde. Oh, Mama. Can this really be the end? I love Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. I was just listening to it again yesterday. He does Oh Mama, and then he has that one point where he just goes, Oh Mama. He just does it even more dramatically. And just the title. You got you get the blues from one city while you're in another city. And I think we can all relate to that. I mean, it's almost like when Firesign Theater said, "How can you be two places at once when you're really nowhere at all?" So this Stuck Inside of Mobile, the Memphis Blues, again, one of my favorite songs from Blonde on Blonde. And I just love the singing and the lyrics. Okay, number 22 is going to be a surprise. It's going to be a surprise for sure. From the Bootleg series, volumes 1 through 3, I love Moonshiner. It's on the first disc. It's a song about alcoholism, how this young man at the age of 20 or 21 was able to write this song with lyrics like "The whole world's a bottle and life's but a dram." It's just, it's a phenomenal song with a phenomenal vocal. If you haven't heard it, Dylan's vocals are so full of pain. Um, it's one of the best drinking. When I say drinking songs, there's drinking songs, and then there's songs about the other side of the coin, about the effects of drinking or drugs. And this is one of the most devastating I've ever heard. Every time I listen to it, it just pierces through me. Um, Sitting by is still, yeah. And he talks about how he'd like to have the women at the bar, but they wouldn't understand. Their breath is as sweet as the dew on the vine. There's a sadness in that song that runs really deep. I just love that. Number 21 from Oh Mercy, Most of the Time. Most of the Time is just one of Dylan's most clever lyrical songs. And of course, it has that great Daniel Lanois production and some great harmonica and bass on it. But it has these lines like, I'm halfway contented most of the time. Do the math on that. If you're halfway contented most of the time, how often are you contented? The answer is zero. You're only halfway contented most of the time. And it's full of that kind of clever wordplay that Dylan is so good at. I absolutely love that song. All right, Jim, and anytime you
Okay.
want a comment, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I love your choice of Moonshiner because anybody who was not familiar with Dylan then or is not really familiar with him now, if you didn't know this was early Dylan, you'd swear it was some old blues singer. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the kind of voice that this young man was able to put on in this song. And how it did not make it onto an album. He'd do it live, but how it did not make it onto an album, well, that's one of the mysteries of Dylan, the perennial mysteries of Dylan, because even more than Van Morrison, Dylan would leave some of his best songs off of the album for one reason or another. I don't know if it was because he could see the future and know how important the songs would be later, or if he just had really bad taste in his own songs, or but whatever the case, we're gonna find more of those.
It
All
conveys
right,
a
so
lot of sadness and pain, doesn't it?
that's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay. My 21 through 25. 25, one of the most beautiful songs and one of the most spiritual songs Dylan ever wrote. It's from Shot of Love, Every Grain of Sand. And it's spiritual, but it also is very inspired by Dylan's fellow poet, William Blake, to see the world in a grain of sand. But just it's a song that, kind of gives me goosebumps even still when I listen to it. The next one is the first alternate version. From if you've already watched the first part, I mean the best albums, that Gene and I both, our favorite album is Blood on the Tracks. And one of the songs on Blood on the Tracks, and this just shows what a great album it is because it wasn't one of my absolute favorite songs from Blood on the Tracks, was Shelter from the Storm. But the version that he did on Hard Rain, which was the second leg of his Desire tour in early 1976, it's just it's if you're into punk rock, Dylan invented a lot of things. I say invented, but I mean, he foresaw. And this song sounds like Joe Strummer of the Clash, something that he would do in a very Clash type way. It's very punkish, very rocking, and very brilliant. Come in, she said, I'll give you. Shelter from the Storm. Uh, then, speaking of beautiful songs by Dylan, and I could not get a replacement for this one because it's just so perfect as it is. From Nashville Skyline, we have Lay Lady Lay.
Mm.
Um, and one reviewer said somehow Dylan managed to add an extra octave to his voice. And it's true. And his voice is almost like honey on this song. People who were familiar with early Dylan would not have understood what was going on because unless they'd heard recordings of his very early stuff before he actually recorded albums. This is when he quit trying to sound like a um, a variant of Woody Guthrie and just went back to using his normal voice. Um, and it's a beautiful song, and it's a song that, and I don't say this in any kind of derogatory way, but it's a Dylan song for people who don't like Dylan. Um, like if somebody tells me, "Oh, he has a terrible voice," I say, "Listen to Lay Lady Lay." Um,
Right.
then one of the first of one of many of his long story songs from Knocked Out Loaded, a an an album that I don't consider to be that great, but this song, Brownsville Girl, is and it's funny and it's serious at the same time. I didn't know whether to duck or to run, so I ran. But it has my favorite line in there is, you know, if what does he say? He says, if
Oh,
there's
you
an
think.
intelligent thought out there, I could use, or an original thought. If there's an original thought out there, I could use it right now. Um, and I don't know how much of this was actually written by Dylan and how much was written by Sam Shepard, but it's a collaboration with Sam Shepard.
Uh-huh.
And um, one thing we knew about Henry Porter was that his real name wasn't Henry Porter. Um, so it's an adventure song about well, it's kind of a down and out, song again, but it's funny. And that's Brownsville Girl. And as Gene pointed out before, there is New Danville Girl, an early run through of it, which in its own way is just as good. But I think the reason I chose the original Brownsville Girl is because I love it so much. And then number 21, from Bringing It All Back Home, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And, Bringing It All Back Home, I think we both talked about how this album may not be Dylan's best album, but it may have some of his very best songs on it. And one of them is It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, which interestingly, Dylan did after he got booed at Newport. And that's over exaggerated. I'm reading the book right now about what happened at Newport, and just as many people were cheering him as booing him.
Right.
But he played three songs with an electric guitar and then walked off the stage. And people wanted him back on. So he came out with an acoustic guitar and he did It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And if that wasn't symbolic, I don't know what is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know. So that's my number 25 through 21.
That's good. I did go back and listen to Shelter from the Storm, and I heard what you're talking about. But I have a question on one of your songs, and I think I know the answer. I think I understand, but because you were an English teacher, I think you said Every Grain of Sand was Dylan's Blakean song.
Mhm.
Did you say that?
Yes.
And do you want to clarify that a little bit?
Um, the uh, Blake had a poem where he said, "To see the world in a grain of sand."
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
and I think Dylan got the idea from that.
That I that I did not. I mean, I also studied, but I'm also, majored in English. But yeah, I don't remember that. So thank you for clarifying that. I like that list. Um, okay, my 20 through 16. This is going to be a fun list. I have from Love and Theft, High Water for Charlie Patton with its marvelous banjo playing. And, this is one of those songs that Dylan did where he draws from classic blues material, but then makes it something original of his own. And yeah, I mean, it's about famously, it's the great Mississippi flood of 19, whenever that was, 1920 or 21, whenever that was. The High Water and the Charlie Patton were both making references to the 1920s. But like so many songs, like you were talking about earlier, Jim, this song is about so much more than the flood or a blues musician. He's expanded the lyrics to be about a number of subjects. And yeah, you just have to listen to the song, but I love it. Number 19, from Time Out of Mind, Lovesick. I'm sick of love. Yeah, again, that clever wordplay that he's so good at. And he's sick of love, but he's in the thick of it. So he wants out and he doesn't want out. You've got that great contradiction in this song. Of course, the music is terrific. It's from, again, it's a Daniel Lanois production, but you've got some great ambience on that song. Number 18 from John Wesley Harding, I have All Along the Watchtower. The first time I heard this song, I just couldn't get over the harmonica. I remember thinking it was really harsh, and that it kind of hurt my ears. But I've come to love the harmonica on it as well. And this, by the way, was a song that I studied in high school. The lyrics, not the song, the lyrics. We had All Along the Watchtower in our English book. Yeah. And I remember very vividly that we went through that one day, and I think we did some Leonard Cohen as well. And we had a couple Bob Dylan poems, lyrics in our English book, and one was All Along the Watchtower. And we went into great depth on it. And people are still not sure what it means, who the Joker is and who the thief is. But there's no doubt that this also draws from the Bible, from the book of Revelations, specifically with all the horse rider imagery. And what was it? Somebody said all along the watchtower, Princess kept the view. What did I read about a watchtower? I'm trying to remember. They were saying like the construction of a watchtower, that there's actually a part of this song that doesn't make architectural sense. But it's okay. We got license, right? And yeah, it's just one of those dark doomsday songs that I think everybody now in the postmodern world can listen to All Along the Watchtower and go, "Oh yeah." There's a lot of people who believe the second coming is right around the corner. Um, I'm not saying I believe that, but I can at least relate to it emotionally. Number 17 and 18, 17, 16 are a pair of songs from Blonde on Blonde. I already had Stuck Inside a Mobile. Now I'm going to go with Visions of Johanna. The ghost of electricity howls through the ghost of electricity howls through the bones in her face. Is that
Yeah.
correct, Jim?
Yep.
I
That
I
that's
have
why he's a Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah, I have no friggin' idea really what this song's about, but I love the words and I love the instrumentation. There's this guitar like in the left channel, and it just goes like you can tell that he's just kind of improvising. I mean, you can tell because Dylan used to do things in just a couple, three takes, and I don't remember who the guitar player is on this song because there were a number of guitar players on Blonde. But here you got
Pretty
this
sure it was Robbie Robertson.
on Visions of Johanna.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. The
And
guitar,
definitely Al Cooper on the Hammond organ.
it's really interesting, the instrumentation that really supports the lyrics of the song. And then at number 16, I have the Salvation Army song, Rainy Day Women, number 12 and 35. One of the first Dylan songs I ever heard. I'm a baby boomer, but I'm pretty young, pretty late in the baby boom. And so Blonde on Blonde was an album that I wasn't there, in 19, I mean, I was alive, but I wasn't there in 66 to hear this music. And so I depended very much on the radio. And I think Rainy Day Women, number 1235, probably one of the first Dylan songs, if not the first Dylan song I ever heard. When I got into music when I was a little older and started listening to the radio. Um, yeah, great song. Everybody Must Get Stoned, which, I now realize has so many different meanings, including the biblical meaning of stoning someone, like actually throwing rocks at someone in the public square uh, for punishment. And Dylan probably felt that way once he was on the fame train. So there's a lot of different ways to take this song. I love it. All right, that's it. 20 through
All
16.
right. So my 20 through 16. Number 20 is, I mean, we talked about songs that Dylan left off of albums, and I believe that I was reading an article sometime back, and forgive me if I have the wrong person, but I'm almost certain it was Mark Knopfler who said that he wanted to hit Dylan when he found out that Dylan was leaving this album off of the album. I mean, when he left the song off the album, Blind Willie McTell.
Hmm.
Um, it is highly regarded to be one of Dylan's greatest songs ever, not just from that period, but ever. Um, and why he would leave it off, I don't know. But you can find it a number of places now. It first became easily available as a studio outtake on the bootleg series volumes 1 through 3. And it's it's a blues song, but it's also a ballad. And nobody could play the blues like Blind Willie McTell. Speaking of blues, from Love and Theft, Dylan's great comeback album. And the song is Mississippi. I've been in Mississippi way too long. The biggest thing I ever did wrong was stay in Mississippi way too long. Um, so love that song. Then Dylan recorded a couple songs with Dan Lanois that were not released because I guess because Dylan didn't like them, but also from the bootleg series, we've got Series of Dreams. Now, Series of Dreams is a song that when I would do the poetry unit with my AP students, I would play them Series of Dreams and ask them what they thought it was about. And I had already conditioned them to use a little flow chart. Is this song about love? Is this song about death? And if it's about neither of those, well, what else is it about? And nearly all of them said that it was a song about death, about living and dying, a series of dreams. And I actually put together a list of a playlist for when I die for my friends like Gene to listen to, and Series of Dreams is on it. It says, and the cards you have, the cards are no good that you're holding unless they're from another world. Um, and these, and then if you really listen to the lyrics about what he's saying about all these things in life that you see and they don't make any sense, but they could make sense later after you die. And if you want to check out the video that was made for it, it's really cool too. So Series of Dreams, and the Series of Dreams are the dreams of life that we have until we get to death. Now, I choose All Along the Watchtower, but I didn't choose the John Wesley Harding one. Um, Dylan famously said that after he heard Jimi Hendrix's version of it. He was so blown away that he insisted that that was the way they were going to do it from now on. And Dylan and the band on Before the Flood, they do a rocking version that does not imitate Hendrix's, but it's every bit as rocking. And Robbie Robertson burns on the guitar the same way that Hendrix did. And so it's like, you know, instead of being an up-tempo folk song, it's a rocker. And so all along the Watchtower, live from Before the Flood. And then a blonde on blonde song, and you're going to see both of us giving a lot of blonde on blonde songs. This one, Just Like a Woman. And a lot of people consider this song to be misogynistic, and maybe it is, but there just seems to be a lot of sympathy in it as well. At least the way I see it, a lot of sympathy. And she aches just like a woman, but she breaks just like a little girl. And so that's a really powerful song. And so that's in there. Before I end here, let me just tell you, I found this for Every Grain of Sand. Oh, by the way, it was definitely Robbie Robertson who played the guitar on Visions of Johanna. But
Okay.
the here's the phrase from Blake. The poem is Auguries of Innocence. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. So
I
there,
just
you've all been schooled now. Um, look it up. It's a great song. Okay, Gene.
okay, I'm next.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there were any surprises in that list of yours, so I don't really have any comments. And yeah, all along the Watchtower, picking the live version makes perfect sense. All right, number 15 from Slow Train Coming, Gotta Serve Somebody. I love this song. You may be an ambassador to England or France. You might like to gamble, you might like to dance. I just love these songs, and yeah, okay, so it's a little preachy, but I can listen to the song with a different mindset. I can listen to it as just everybody's going to get their comeuppance someday, with a couple possible exceptions. We won't go there, but yeah, pretty much people get their comeuppance one way or another. Yeah, it's the same thing. Later, he would say that you're going to meet the same people on the way down that you met on the way up. So
Hmm.
I can look at it different ways, but it's got that, I think that little piano riff that Barry Beckett does is so infectious. I just love that little 2 or 3 note little riff that he does. And then Dylan lays a different song over that. Just wonderful. Yeah, it was a big hit, so I think most people know it. All right. So number 14 is a song from the Basement Tapes. Actually, are you ready? From the Basement Tapes Raw.
Mm.
Because I did have on my list, Yay Heaven and a Bottle of Bread. Okay? Because I love that song. You made me love you would sing it, and I fell in love with the song. But there's another song from the Basement Tapes that I've become kind of obsessed with, and I ignored it. I ignored it for years. I didn't, I owned it. Here it is. I'll show you where I own it. It wasn't released until a long time. It's the title track from I'm Not There.
Right, right.
So it was just sort of the last song on the album, and I kind of didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And all of a sudden, in doing this project, I at first became interested in the Sonic Youth version, which I was falling in love with that Sonic Youth version, and I was going to put that over on my covers list. And I started listening to the band and Bob Dylan do I'm Not There. And I just couldn't stop listening to it. There's something about that song with the melody. I guess it's the melody in combination with the lyrics. But, it's really a song about absenteeism. But again, with maybe some empathy, it's a very complicated song and a simple song at the same time. And I don't know, I can't stop listening to it. But I think it's the melody that really pulls me in more than anything. So I'm sure that's a surprise to you, Jim, but I think my favorite basement tape song now is probably I'm Not There, at least
Cool.
currently. Currently. And it may have what is called recency bias. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's a recent listen, so it has some bias. And is that true? Oh, I think it's absolutely true. I admit it. Number 13 from Oh Mercy. What was it you wanted? Sounds like a man on ketamine. Brilliant, disjointed relationship lyrics. It doesn't make any logical sense, but I think it makes perfect emotional sense. Are you the same person that was here before? Have you ever felt that way in a relationship? You're having a discussion with maybe your wife or husband, and all of a sudden you're like, who are you? And what have you done with my spouse? It's like he captures that thing. But some people have also said it may be a message to his fans. He definitely mentions, the pronouns refer to a woman, but lines like, what was it you wanted? Did someone tell you you could get it from me? You could also take this song as one of his um, uh, trying to break down the fame, trying to dismantle the fame machine. It could also be taken that way. And of course, it's just beautifully played and beautifully produced. But I love that disjointed nature. Love it. Number 12, also a Daniel Lanois produced song, but it was never on an album. It's an outtake from Telltale Signs Bootleg Series Volume 8. I love Born in Time. It was
Mm-hmm.
released on Under the Red Sky, but I don't care for that version. I like the one that's the outtake from maybe from Oh Mercy. I'm not sure. But Born in Time, I don't know. It's one of those songs like I can't articulate the meaning of the song, but I kind of know what he's talking about. I kind of feel it. But what does Born in Time actually mean? And maybe that's one of the wonderful things about the song is I can revisit it and hear new things in it. But this is another song with an infectious melody. There are some songs on here, such as Born in Time, I'm Not There, Baby Let Me Follow You Down, that just have great melodies. And maybe Dylan doesn't get enough credit for that because a lot of people said he's just writing, verse after verse after verse with no bridge and blah, blah, blah. But he was capable of writing wonderful melodies. And then number 11 from Infidels, Joker Man. Joker Man, probably worthy a top 10, but it's just outside my top 10. The meaning of this song, it's just, it's one of his put down songs in a way, but it's got more depth than that. But yeah, he's talking about, I don't know, the Emperor's New Clothes or something. He's just talking about you're kind of a fraud. And he's got a number of songs in this kind of vein. And I'm sure this will be on your list. So I think I'm going to let you talk about it, Jem, because I think you understand the song even better than I do. So that's it. Got to serve somebody. I'm not there. What was it you wanted? Born in Time, Joker Man.
Okay, thank you. Good choices. Okay, I said earlier that with Shelter from the Storm, Dylan foresaw punk. Well, with now I have two songs from Bringing It All Back Home. And they're very different also. Bringing It All Back Home had a more rocking side, which foreshadowed Highway 61, and then it had a more acoustic side. From the
Mhm.
rocking side, it opened up with Subterranean Homesick Blues, where Dylan invented rap. It really did. I mean, it just try to rap to it. It's easy to do. Johnny's in the back room making up the medicine, or Johnny's in the basement mixing up the
Mixing up.
medicine. Mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the government. Man in a coonskin cap got laid off. Says he got a bad cold, wants to get it paid off. Um, and it's a rap song. And I love the video where he's holding all the different signs with words from it,
Mhm.
showing that he doesn't really take it seriously. But it is the a domestic terrorist group in the late 60s was formed from a line from it. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. And
Ah,
Dylan was simply talking about a weatherman, but then the weatherman chose their name, from that they were showing what the future was.
I didn't know
So
that. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
The next one is the other famous song from that album, Mr. Tambourine Man. And the Byrds actually released their version of it before Dylan released his version of it. Their version of it is absolutely beautiful. And Dylan's, I mean, if you listen to Dylan's voice, I said that Lay Lady Lay, you can play for people to show how well he sang. Well, Mr. Tambourine Man also shows that he's a good singer. He doesn't do anything, he doesn't strain his voice, he doesn't go out of his way to sound like a goat with its leg caught in a barbed wire fence, as one critic put him. You know, it's not a crooner, but it's a great song. Is it about drugs? Almost definitely. Dylan was starting to experiment with drugs heavily at that time, something more than just pot. Um, but along with, and I know that he denied it to the day he died, but that's John Lennon. But along with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, this is one of the great drug songs that there is. Um, then I'm with you, Gene. One More Cup of Coffee. Um, Beautiful song. And I mean, and it's great. And it has that Western sound, but also his singing is almost Arabic sounding. The way he uses his voice on that. And I think to myself, my God, where did Dylan discover that kind of singing? Because he hadn't used it before. It has this, you know, Middle Eastern sound to the way he sings. And there's also, it's filled with gypsy references and one of my favorite songs by Dylan. Then from Highway 61 Revisited, a mighty song, Desolation Row. Um, Desolation Row is a plethora of multiple images, and it is one of Dylan's most literary songs ever. It has so many references to literature, other things as well. But one of my favorites, being a lit person, is Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot fighting in the captain's tower. And a couple people have done artwork based on it, but there's a really great painting that you can find online, and it has every single image that Dylan mentions in this lengthy song, dozens of images, and you can see up in a tower. Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot are duking it out. But the artist just kind of had fun with it. He also put Heaven's Door up in the sky, knocking on Heaven's Door from later, and
Mhm.
from knocking on Heaven's Door, there's a gun and a badge lying on the floor. So um, he put several like what do you call Easter eggs in there also. And up in the upper left corner, you've got Dylan looking down on all of this, and he's with Suze Rotolo, his first New York girlfriend. So really cool. And but Desolation Row. Uh, when we talk about the best covers, not too many people have covered Desolation Row. But oh, what's the name of the band that did?
My
I almost
Chemical
put it.
Romance.
Yes, I almost put it on there, but and it's not because it's so rocking. I like that, but they leave so much out of it that it just doesn't do it justice. It was good to end Watchmen with, but it doesn't really. It's not a song. It's not a version I go back to over and over again. But I did have it on there for a while, and then I just no, I'm going to put something else on instead. Um, and then one of Dylan's great non-album tracks that was a single and therefore one of the first Dylan songs that I um, got to know really well because my first Dylan album was Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits, and it's positively Fourth Street,
Hmm.
one of his finger pointing songs. Um, when I was playing this, the list for this, and my wife Cindy said, "What do you think this song is about?" I said, "I think he's just really accusing the people who pretended they were they were they were frauds. They pretended to like him, and then he felt betrayed by them. So I like the very end of it that you'd know what a drag it is to see you if we could
If you
switch
were in my
places.
shoes, yeah.
Yeah, if you were in my shoes, and just for that one moment, I could be you. Um, so, and it had great music too. Basically, it is an outtake from Highway 61 revisited, and it would fit perfectly on Highway 61. So, positively Fourth Street, Desolation Row, One More Cup of Coffee, Mr. Tambourine Man, Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yeah, I
Those,
love all those songs. You'll have to wait and see how many are on my list.
right.
All right, number 10, Like a Rolling Stone. Got to have that in your top 10. I mean, classic. So this would be a lot of people. If you were Rolling Stone magazine, this would be your number one song because it's in the title. But one thing I was thinking about this song though is there's two documentaries, two, if I'm not mistaken, that that were named after lines from this song. One is Martin Scorsese's No Direction Home, and the other one is the new movie A Complete Unknown,
Mm-hmm.
right? They both come from this song. That's how much of a template it is, not just for Dylan, but rock and roll in general. This is from Highway 61 Revisited. And, famously, it's got that Al Cooper organ on it. Um, yeah, I don't think there's anything to really add because I think everybody knows this song and has their own opinion of it. It's probably the most written about song he's ever done. So I just felt like I needed to get that in the top 10. Yeah, it's overplayed. We didn't really talk about that. Some of the songs not on my list may be on my list because may be omitted from my list because I've heard them so many times and I have maybe that bias. But you can't deny like a Rolling Stone. Number 9 from Blonde on Blonde. And let's see, I guess this would be my highest rated song from Blonde on Blonde. And I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that I have it on here, just where I have it on here. And that is Most Likely You Go Your Way and I'll Go Mine. I love the instrumentation on this song. Charlie McCoy, the bass player, has switched over to trumpet on this song. And there's also a really unusual sort of loopy organ thing going on. I don't even know how they did it. But most likely you go your way and I'll go mine is just one of my favorite Dylan listens. I don't even know if I know why I like the song so much. The instrumentation's a big part of it. And then it's kind of an interesting lyric too, because he just keeps saying over and over again, I'm just going to let you pass. The woman is too difficult for him to handle. I think everybody can relate to someone you've met in your life that you go, no, they're too difficult. I'm just going to let you pass. So it's a great lyric. Number 8, an album that I didn't rate very highly, but I hinted that I might take a song from it. Hard Rain. My choice is Idiot Wind.
Mm-hmm.
So you chose Shelter from the Storm. I chose Idiot Wind. You know, that's what's great about this list is I've got this album kind of low on my ranking, but I pulled this one song out, Idiot Wind, one of my favorite Dylan songs, and I love the version on Blood on the Tracks. But this version is even more biting, almost sinister. It's his most vicious song unless you look at the last verse where he kind of saves himself, where he says, "It's a wonder we can even breathe." And he uses the pronouns of we and us in the last verse. Though maybe at that point it's too late because he's really just kind of torn somebody apart. Some people say it's about Sarah, but I think it's about more than that. He talks about the stories in the press. Some people say he was referring to a journalist. I don't know. I don't care. I just know that his ability to be so vicious is fun. You know, Dylan says, why would anybody enjoy these songs that are so painful? Well, I do. Call me a freak. I don't know, but I love that. Number seven, Blind Willie McTell. My versions from the bootleg series one through three. I just watched a 40-minute documentary on this song from Polyphonic. If you guys watching this video have a chance to go over to the Polyphonic channel and watch the video on this, you will see the song is about so many more things that, in fact, it's not even about Blind Willie McTell, who was a blues musician who died in the 50s and kind of started recording when they were going through, they kind of went through a, what do I want to say? A trend. That's the word I'm looking for. There was a trend where they were looking for blind musicians. Yeah, believe it or not, because Blind Lemon Jefferson had hit it big. Uh, this is about the South. It's about slavery. It's about so many different things. And like you were talking about, Jim, with Desolation Row and Murder Most Foul, this song it's so referential. It refers to so many different aspects of music and history. You can get lost in this song. Blind Willie McTell. Also, wonderful melody. Wonderful melody. Number six, Subterranean Homesick Blues. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that this is a rap song. Uh, I don't think that's hyperbole at all. I was listening to it again the other day, and I was listening to it in the mindset of what if a current, well, when I say current, I mean 21st century rap artist or even a 90s rap artist, what if they wrote these lyrics? Yeah, it would fit right in. It would be, yeah, I could see someone like Billy Woods doing this song. It was way ahead of its time. Not necessarily, I don't know if it's necessarily about anything, but yeah, it has all those great lines like you don't need a weatherman. I have said before, like currently I'm not watching much TV and I don't watch any news. Somebody says to me, yeah, but how do you know what's going on? I say, hey, don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. I don't have to watch the news on TV to understand what's going on. I hear people talk about it. I do read. And yeah, it's a great line. So I have on here Subterranean Homesick Bluesis. I misspelled it
Lucis.
on my, yeah, Bluces. Well, I'll fix that later. Actually, let me fix it now because we're going to post this list at the end here. So there we go. Subterranean Home. So, like a Rolling Stone, most likely you go your way and I'll go mine. Idiot Wind Live, Blind Willie McTell, Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Loses.
Yeah, that's a good list, isn't it?
It certainly is.
If I
Okay,
so.
now we enter the top 10 countdown. God, this was hard to do because I love all these songs so much. One of the songs by Dylan that I love, but I've always found that the original is inadequate because it needs an extra verse, and that is from uh, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Hmm.
So many great covers have been done, but on Before the Flood with the band, this was 1974. Woods, Vietnam was beginning to wind down, but it was still a vital thing. And Dylan adds an extra verse to it. Mama, wipe the blood off of my face. I'm sick and tired of this war. And it's just like, oh, wow. I mean, that's better than take the badge off, put my guns in the ground, and wipe the blood off my face. I'm sick and tired of this war. And, Dylan had songs like Masters of War, but he rarely would come right out and make a political comment like that. But he's making a comment that, this is bullshit. We have to, end this. And that version with the band, they're just they're just all they're on fire there when they play that with him. So that's the Knocking on Heaven's Door live from Before the Flood. Then another song from Highway 61 Revisited. And that song is Highway 61 Revisited, which you spoke about. And the and I used to when I would talk to my AP students about the Bible, and we would get to Genesis, and we would talk about Abraham. God said to Abraham, "Kill me a son." Abe said, "Man, you must be putting me on." God said, "No." Abe said, "What?" God said, "You can do what you want, Abe, but next time you see me coming, you better run." And I would always get a big laugh from them when I said that, and they said, Did he really write that?" I said, "Yeah, he did." Um, Out on Highway 61. Then number 8 from Street Legal, Changing of the Guards, one of the songs that, you know, uses a lot of symbolic imagery, including some um, uh, tarot imagery, the tower struck down, the king and the queen of swords, and other things like that. And Dylan was really interested at the time he made that album. That's not the only song that has tarot imagery, but he was really interested in the tarot at that time. But the melody of that, and that da 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 da,
Mhm.
um, and when we get to covers, God, it was so hard for me to choose because there's two covers that I really love, but I chose the least surprising one, I think. Um, and then Joker Man. Okay, you told me that you're going to let me say a little bit more about this. This was the album that this was from Infidels, the album that ended actually it was leaving behind his religious period, but there's still religious imagery in it, a lot of it. And if you have all sorts of Middle Eastern religious imagery and Egyptian religious imagery, and many people have argued, is the Joker Man Jesus or the devil or both? I mean, it's kind of a Gnostic sort of thing.
Hmm.
um, but again, watch the video of it. It's really good. A video was made about it, and the video is great. But um, it says, it's a serious song, but it has jokes in it too, like Sodom and Gomorrah. But what do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. And in Sodom and Gomorrah, they were all they wanted to take they the men there. wanted to rape the angels, because they weren't interested in women. So Dylan's making a sly reference. You go to Sodom and Gomorrah, but what do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister.
What
Oh,
about
Joker
the
man,
dog? What about the small dog licking your face or whatever
oh
line?
yeah, with a small dog licking your face. Um, and uh, take the motherless children and place them at the feet of a harlot. So a lot of apocalyptic imagery in there too.
Mm.
Um, and then we get to Visions of Johanna, which I agree with you. For me, it's my favorite song from Blonde on Blonde and one of my favorite Dylan songs ever. It took me a while to really get to love the song the way I do now, but there's so many jewels and binoculars hang from the head of the mule. Um, but yeah, what does that mean? But it has a lot of great imagery in it, and and there's two women in it. There's the mysterious woman, perhaps sinister woman, Johanna, because like I said, Johanna is not a common name. Joanne or Joanna without the H's, but Johanna is like almost a sound is like a sound alike to Gehenna, which is the Hebrew word for the underworld.
Mm.
Not hell, because the Hebrews did not actually have a hell, but the name for the underworld of death, visions of Gehenna, visions of Johanna. But then there's another woman in there, uh,
Louise.
Louise. That's right, and Louise seems to be the redeeming woman, and he seems to be torn between these two women. Um, and Louise is such a common, ordinary name. So you've got Louise and Johanna.
Mhm.
Um, so, um, so Knocking on Heaven's Door, Highway 61 Revisited, Changing of the Guards, Joker Man, and Visions of Johanna.
That's a great list. Yeah, no
Yeah,
argument there. Changing of the guards, no surprise, except that I didn't know it would be that high on your list. So that's the only thing that's even mildly surprising, but I enjoy those songs. So Gemini decided not to go back and forth on the top five, so I'm just going to run my top five down. And here we go. Here we go, Jim. You ready?
I'm ready.
Because I'll bet you're not 100% sure what my top five is. In
No, I'm
fact,
not.
so at number five, I'm going with Hurricane. I think lyrically, this is as good as anything Dylan did. If you kind of analyze the song and look at the rhyme scheme and all these types of things, it's actually brilliant. You could study the song in a literature or English class, and yet it was taken from the newspapers. How much Jacques Levy did on this song and how much Dylan did, I don't know, but it has a fairly elaborate or sophisticated rhyme scheme. Musically, it's great. It's got these congas that are very urgent, and then the drumming of, I couldn't remember the guy's name earlier, but I think it's Howard Wyeth is the drummer on here. And his drumming is fantastic. So then with Hurricane, which is about the boxer, Hurricane Reuben Carter, falsely tried for murder. I've read up a little bit on him, and the verdict, oh, there's a pun. The verdict is out on whether or not Reuben Carter was innocent or not. Not everyone is so sure. I say it doesn't matter because it's still, when you look at the court systems today and some of the decisions that are made, it does make you feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game. A lot of my views on punishment and imprisonment and death penalty and all that just has to do with very simply, with the fact that our justice system uh, is, lawyers, right? So you can hire a good lawyer and your you can look at someone like I remember when people asked me about O.J. Simpson. What do you think about the O.J. Simpson trial? First person that asked me that question, I just said, makes me feel ashamed to live in a world where justice is a game, in a land where justice is a game. I can use that quote all the time. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with our court system. I'm just saying that when you can pay for justice, that changes the way I think. I'm pretty compassionate about, well, I'll just come out and say it. People are going to be upset. I'm generally against the death penalty. And it's for this reason. It's because people are tried and found guilty of crimes they didn't commit. And then people commit crimes and they get off. So as long as our justice system is for sale, yeah. This song really, I know I'm going on a long time, but this is our top five. This song speaks to so many values that I have and so many beliefs, that it's a song that's not really about Reuben Carter per se in my mind, but about every single person who's ever been found guilty of a crime they didn't commit. I don't know. It's just, are we a democracy or are we not a democracy? Some say it depends on your justice system, and I won't go into any more depth on that. I hope I don't get any negative comments. Number four, from Blood on the Tracks, not the song you think. You're a big girl now. I love the lyrics on this song. This is the one where he sings the line. You were saying play lay lady lay for the person who says Dylan is not a good singer. I agree with that. But I would also submit you're a big girl now. His ability to make you believe and the conviction of a line when he sings about heartbreak and he sings, it's like a corkscrew to my heart, like a corkscrew to my heart. I did a terrible impression there. Um, It's like that corkscrew goes through my heart when he sings it. It's so believable. It is so believable. Absolutely love this song. I think his singing is phenomenal. And I would certainly present this as Exhibit B. For if you think Dylan's not a good singer, listen to this. One thing I will say about the Blood on the Tracks album in closing is when I go through cover songs from that album, they generally speaking, cover songs from songs on Blood on the Tracks are usually less satisfying than Dylan. That's the one album that I think he just has songs that nobody's ever been able to rival his version. And this is one. You're a big girl now. Absolutely. Dylan nails it, and I've never heard anybody do it as well. Okay, top three. I won't talk about these as long as I did those two songs. Number three, from Highway 61 Revisited, Ballad of a Thin Man. This song and the next song I'm going to talk about are so relevant today. So relevant today. I listened to Ballad of a Thin Man and it hasn't lost any of its edge. So I too, like you said, Jim, I don't have Blowing in the Wind on this list. Objectively, great song, great song. But it does sound a little bit of its time, right? Sounds like that early folk civil rights era. I don't know, Ballad of a Thin Man just sits really well in 2025. And Number two, same comment. It's all right, Ma. I'm only bleeding. Hey, it's life and life only. I am, however, picking the version from the Bootleg Series Volume 6, Philharmonic Hall, where he actually flubs a line. Um, but I think it's still a version that I love slightly more than the studio version. Um, Nothing much is sacred. Yeah, this sits really well in 2025. And number one, this one you might have guessed, a lot of people's favorite song, Tangled Up in Blue from Blood on the Tracks. I probably know every word by heart. And the imagery is just incredibly fantastic. It can go by you like that. She was working in a topless place. I stopped in for a beer. I just kept looking at the side of her face in the spotlight, oh so clear. What's he saying on there? She's working in a topless place. He's looking at her face. The imagery in this is so powerful. And then the meter. How about a line like this? The only thing I knew how to do was to keep on keeping on like a bird that flew. Perfect meter. There's so much about this song. The music, the instrumentation, the singing. I can take every piece of this song and say, that's perfect, that's perfect, that's perfect, that's perfect. Yeah, one day the axe just fell. Absolutely love this little story, this little movie and a song. Your turn, Jim.
All right, great choices there. Great choices. Um, Dylan wrote a lot of story songs, and we both put a lot of them in here. In my top five, I've got three, count them, three songs from Blood on the Tracks.
Wow.
And number five is to me the best story song ever, and that Dylan ever wrote, Lily, Rosemary, and the Jack of Hearts.
Wow.
Um, we have a friend named Ralph who was interested in being a filmmaker for a while, and he and I were talking about how it would make a fantastic short film. Every single thing you could have in there, and there are different characters. You've got Lily, and she is a chorus girl slash prostitute and the former lover of the Jack of Hearts, okay, the nominal Jack of Hearts. Then there's Rosemary. Rosemary is the beaten down uh, wife of Big Jim, who is the town bully, the town the boss, the town boss. Lily, on the other hand, is his lover. Okay. And then there's the Jack of Hearts, the mysterious Jack of Hearts, who keeps coming into it one place or another. Now, this takes place in the Old West. Um, and it and there's a show about a cabaret show about to go on. And next to the cabaret, next to the theater, is a bank. And people keep hearing a noise, and it's a drilling. And it's the Jack of Hearts' men drilling from through into the bank vault to steal it. And the Jack of Hearts, while they're doing that, he has his own things to do. And is he just simply being a distraction or more? He's really, it seems, come to see Lily. Um, and during the show, Big Jim catches a glimpse of the Jack of Hearts and recognizes him. I think I've seen that face somewhere, Big Jim was thinking to himself. Maybe down in Mexico or a picture upon somebody's shelf. He doesn't, the picture would be a picture that Lily had. So as it comes to the end, Lily is now taking off her makeup in her dressing room, and the Jack of Hearts is in there, and she's laughing at him and saying, oh, you fool, why did you come back? And he's just kind of sitting there. He never says anything. He's just being quiet. And then Big Jim, the door opens, and A Colt revolver clicks. Big Jim has his gun ready to shoot the Jack of Hearts. And then Rosemary, she's not right next to Big Jim, but she finds the Jack of Hearts interesting, and she takes her penknife and stabs Big Jim in the back. And so the next day, Big Jim is covered up, killed by a penknife in the back. Rosemary's on the gallows. She didn't even blink. The hanging judge is sober. He hadn't had a drink. The only one that missing was the Jack of Hearts. And by the way, his men got away and they're waiting for him down by the riverbed, with all the money from the bank. So many things are going on in that song, and it just they all interweave so perfectly. So I love that song. All right, ISIS. When this album first came out, I was first freshman year in college, and I recorded it for Cindy because she was here in Phoenix and I was in another state at the time. And I sent her the tape, and she said, "I love the song ISIS." And the version from Desire is great, but the version he was doing live on the Rolling Thunder tour was even better. And on the bootleg series Rolling Thunder, there's a live version that's very much like this one, and it can be a substitute, but you can find my favorite one on Biograph, and you can tell which one is which. This one is in uh, Montreal, I think, but it says at the beginning, Dylan says, "This one's for Leonard if he's still here." Well, being in Canada, being for Leonard is probably Leonard Cohen. But it's Dylan at his fiery best, and it's mythological. It's a story. It has great lines about he finds this partner to go do some treasure hunting with. That when he died, I was hoping that it wasn't contagious, and he rhymes that with outrageous. The wind it was howling and the snow was outrageous. When he died, I was hoping that it wasn't contagious, but I made up my mind that I had to go on. Um, and he marries Isis on May 5th, my birthday, by the way. And when he comes back, it's May 4th. And just listen to the song and find out how he talks to Isis at the end. And does this have anything to do with the Greek goddess Isis and her husband Osiris? It might. It might. Um, Now, Idiot Wind. Gene mentioned Idiot Wind. Very serious, very angry song, but Dylan still had his sense of humor, and it has one of his best punchlines ever. He works to it with a joke. "Someone's got it in for me. They're planting stories in the press. Whoever it is, I wish they'd cut it out quick, but when they will, I can only guess. They say I shot a man named Ray and took his wife to Italy. She inherited $1 million, and when she died, it came to me. And here's the punchline. I can't help it if I'm lucky." And so, and that's how the thing starts off. Then number two, that's from Blood on the Tracks, of course. Number two is also from Blood on the Tracks, "Tangled Up in Blue." This would be my absolute favorite song by Bob Dylan if it weren't for the number one.
Mhm.
And Gene, you said pretty much what needs to be said about it. But if you're interested in seeing how the song changed as far as point of view, listen to some of the other versions of it, including the live version of it, from Rolling Thunder. Um, I don't think this song has been played to death at all because there's a major book, not article, not story, but a major book written simply about this song, Like a Rolling Stone. And it has been argued by some of the best music critics around that this is the song where rock, or excuse me, where rock and roll turned into rock. This was the first true rock song. And it was the first single that was over 6 minutes long. And Dylan said he had far more lyrics that he left out of it, but he said, "I was just vomiting up lyrics for this thing." And before every verse, it's, "Well," um, but it's like it's it's one of his finger pointing songs, but how does it feel to be on your own with no direction home, a complete unknown, like a Rolling Stone? And of course, the magazine Rolling Stone loved the song. Uh, there's a old blues song, Rolling Stone. The
Yeah.
Rolling Stones took their name from it, and so the name itself, the word Rolling Stone, is a trope in rock and roll.
Uh-huh.
And I never get tired of the song. It's you mentioned that you know all the words to Tangle Up in Blue, and I know all the words for Like a Rolling Stone. And you talked about rhyme. Once upon a time, you dressed so fine, you threw the bums a dime in your prime, didn't you?
Yeah.
People call, say, beware doll. You're bound to fall. You thought they were all kidding you? So he's a different set of rhymes, except at the end, and then he goes and does an AA rhyme, the two lines at the end. Um, and he does that all the way throughout. And there was a book written about Dylan by a English professor. Dylan's Visions of Sin was the name of it. And he points out that Dylan is one of the greatest living rhymers. Rhyme has become somewhat obsolete in modern
Right.
poetry. And a large portion of that has to do with T.S. Eliot. But Dylan rhymes naturally. I don't think he goes out of his way looking for a rhyme. I don't think Dylan walks around with a rhyming dictionary in his pocket. I think that these rhymes come to him.
Hmm.
So there it is, like a Rolling Stone.
Well, excellent. And yeah, there were a couple surprises in there. I did not expect Lily Rosemary and the Jack of Hearts to be in your top five, and so I learned something here. Awesome. So I was surprised by portions, and other portions was what I expected. So this was fun.